Welcome to the Run for God Run Club, where you will find God in a runner's space.
Welcome to the Run for God Run Club. This is your one stop each week to be motivated and inspired to get off the couch and onto the running trail where you can, in turn, inspire others to do the same. Let's learn, laugh, and leap into running together, giving God the glory for what we are able to do in His name. Amen. I am your running host, Dean Thompson, and this week we're going to talk about being positive rather than negative about running. And then we'll use a Star Trek reference to discuss how to reduce your chances for injuries. And once again, joining me is Run for God founder Mitchell Hollis.
Thanks for having me, Dean. So are you a Star Trek guy?
I'm not a geek about it.
Yeah.
I like Star Trek, but I never...
Which one was the TV show? Is that Star
Trek? Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And I've seen half of one Star Wars.
Wow.
I know some people will say that's
blasphemous.
I don't know. I never got into it. So,
really?
Yeah. Even when they came out a few years ago with, I think, some of the new ones, one of my buddies was like, oh, you've got to watch the first one or something. I got halfway through it and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know. I'm just not into that, I don't guess. But
well, what you have to realize is that I was 12 years old when the first Star Wars came out. And of course, it was the biggest thing in the world at the time.
What year did it come out?
77, I think it was.
Well, Dean, I wasn't even here then.
I know. And that's why I say, for me, that's why I'm such a huge Star Wars fan, is because that was the thing when I was right in that wheelhouse of being interested in that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, I never got into it.
Well, Star Trek's much older. Star Trek was in the 60s. So I don't know that I've seen every episode of Star Trek. I've seen a lot of them. But Debbie and I have talked recently about maybe going back and binge watching all of the Star Treks. Is that the one that,
what's his name? Is
Captain Kirk.
Yeah, what's his name?
William Shatner.
William Shatner, yeah.
Yeah, and Leonard Nimoy.
I don't know. Yeah. I remember William Shatner, though. But
Yeah, that was a great show. It was definitely a great show. Well, it's summer and cross country. It's time for cross country teams to start working on getting in shape for the fall. And it's kind of exciting.
I know. Landon came to one of y'all's practices the other day. He's pretty pumped about it, I think.
He's been doing a little more than most of them.
That was the first practice he was coming to, and I think y'all were supposed to start running at 8 o'clock, and I was outside with a guy talking in the driveway, and like 8:05, Landon comes pulling in. I'm like, what happened? He said, forgot my running shoes.
Yeah.
He had his Hey Dudes or Crocs or whatever they are on. I'm like, how you went to running practice without your running shoes? But,
I'm just glad to know there's other people out there like me.
So before we get started, let's talk about our sponsor for this week, good friend of mine. Again, if you have a business that you want to promote through Run for God and allow us to promote you, and you support the ministry of Run for God at the same time, you can send an email to runlanehollis@gmail.com. Lane will get you all the information about that. But this week's sponsor is Brandon Combs State Farm. When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision too. That's why State Farm agent Brandon Combs is right here in Dalton, Georgia, to help you to select the right protection at the right price. Brandon will make sure you understand your State Farm coverage so that you'll know what to expect when the unexpected happens with State Farm agent Brandon Combs. It's easy to make the right choice. Just give him a call when you want the right deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So great family.
Yeah.
Landon's actually building them a farmhouse table right now. My youngest son Landon does woodworking, and a great family right here in Dalton, good Christian folks. And if you're looking for insurance, really from anywhere, I think you can use an agent from anywhere, can't you?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I don't think you have to be right here in the area to use Brandon, so give him a call.
Yeah, good. And I can tell you this: when they say that he's there, I texted him. It was like 9:30 at night here recently about something, and it was about the company in general, not about him and the local office. And I got a response from him like within 30 seconds. Yeah. He's on the job all the time.
Yeah.
A Facebook post from this week comes from Kim Ann Phillips, England. Oh, what good intentions I had back in January. Unfortunately, things did not work for me the way I thought they would. My return to running after a serious car accident became painful due to prior injuries, and I had to stop. When it was time for me to start up again, I was in the most stressful season of work I have ever experienced in all of my life. I just couldn't seem to find the time to dedicate to the track. In fact, many of my weeknights, I literally fell asleep on the couch with all of my clothes on. I finished the school year. I'm a teacher. Very thankful that I don't have to return to that campus next year, but also miserable because I'm now 40 pounds overweight. Ugh. Weight gain plus stress equals bad digestive system and frustration. But now, finally, after 3 weeks of summer, I'm moving from walking to intermittent walk and jog. Thank you, Jesus. It's such a fight to try to keep going again, to get going again. It can be so discouraging to see just how far everyone's come in 6 months and how far I have not. I have been down and out, but I know that every day is a new opportunity to get going. I'm certainly not writing this for sympathy. It's just an update, almost like a diary entry for myself, but also because there may be someone else out there who's struggling with an injury or a setback. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to seek the Lord and ask Him to share with you His purpose for your life. He will. I'd be willing to bet that His plans are great for you. For you to carry out His divine purpose, you have to be as strong as possible, mentally, physically, and spiritually. He knows what it looks like for you and how to get you there. Just ask Him, and He'll show you. He's showing me one day at a time, and I'm blessed each day as I can truly see Him at work in me. I'm praying for whoever else might need it tonight.
This is what the Facebook group is all about.
Yeah.
Kim is throwing out a lifeline there, not in the every sense of the word, but she's throwing it out there, and I'm sure I didn't see this post personally, but if I had to bet, I'll bet there's a ton of comments on it,
of course,
of encouragement, of that's what I needed to hear, of I'm in the same boat with you, of keep it going, do whatever, because we all get where Kim is.
Yeah, we
all get there from time to time. But the problem is, many times we think we're the only ones, and we don't want to talk about it. The devil is the master of secrecy. He wants us to keep it to ourselves and think we're the only one, and we're not.
Yeah,
we all go through what Kim is going through, and I applaud her for putting this out there, laying it out there, because the Facebook group is a what's the word I'm looking for? Not private, but it's a safe place.
Yeah.
For this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And I have no doubts. I'm going to go look up this post now, but I'm sure that there was all kind of encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time, and you're right about whenever you share anything, somebody needed to hear it. I can't tell you how many times, I send out the weekly text messages.
Yeah.
And almost every time I send that text message out, I get a message back, either a private message or an email, or even in some way I get a message back saying, that was exactly what I needed to hear today. Mm-hmm. And it's just something that God I'm busy coming up with different content all week long.
You're the content king.
And there's, running is a pretty simple thing. So it's hard to come up with content. So sometimes I feel overwhelmed with what am I going to say? And I don't know what to say. And then it's weird because God will just put something in there. And so if God is prompting you to put something on the Facebook page that you feel like you need to share, you probably need to share it.
And it's not acknowledging you're a failure. It's acknowledging you're human.
Yeah. Well, and even positive things too.
Yeah.
People share positive things and people need to hear that as well.
Right.
So that's more often the text messages are usually something more positive rather than negative. And so, social media can be so negative and can be so destructive, but it can also be absolutely fabulous. Mm-hmm. And this is a great example of why.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, we had a trivia question from last week, and the trivia question was, the record for the coldest marathon ever was set this year. Tell me when and where. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't know this one. I had never heard of this marathon before.
How did you even come up with this question?
I'm not even sure. I'm just going through and I see stuff online and I don't know.
Oh, look, squirrel. Let's use that as a question.
Yeah, really. On January 21st, 65 runners competed in the Yakutia's Pole of Cold Marathon in Siberia. So this was in Siberia, so it's in Russia, basically. And the temperature the day of the marathon was minus 53 degrees Celsius, which is minus 63.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that's cold.
That's insane.
That is cold. I don't know what the wind chill was, but it was probably much colder than that. And so, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, prior to this, the record was from the 2001 Siberian Ice Marathon in Omsk, Russia, with a temperature of minus 39 degrees. So this wasn't just a little bit colder than any marathon had been before. It was way colder. And here's the interesting thing about having a cold marathon in Siberia is, they have a South Pole marathon. And it's never been that cold at South Pole. And I've heard, now South Pole, I think the weather in general is rougher on the South Pole. But because I think there's a lot of wind and things at the South Pole. But the winner for this race was Vasily Lukin of Russia. He ran 3 hours and 22 minutes in that cold weather.
I think that's the thing that sticks out to me the most, because, I mean, most marathon winners, they're going, quite a bit faster than that, but they got barely any clothes on. I mean, they got a tank top and some shorts. This guy had on a lot of clothes, was not aerodynamic.
I saw pictures from it. Really? I assure you. Yeah. I mean, ice on their face, just covering their face when they get through.
Was he wearing some kind of head covering?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he was completely covered up, everything but his face.
Because I would think I guess it would be tricky, because you have to wear clothes to stay warm.
Yeah.
But then you're going to start to sweat. Yep. And those kind of temperatures, that sweat's just going to freeze to your body. I mean, we've all had it where it's on our eyelashes and our eyelids or whatever, hair. But you have to, I would think even at his core, it would start to freeze. So, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. But I saw a lot of comments on this race. Now there's a whole bunch of people going, that's on my bucket list. Now everybody wants to go run this race because
I love cold weather, but that's a little bit extreme.
Well, and I like extreme stuff. I think it's cool to do extreme things, but man, oh man. Now, again, the South Pole Marathon, it takes place on the polar plateau, which is the most remote, and they call it the most inhospitable place on the planet. The coldest temperature ever recorded there was minus 130. Now, they have the marathon during a time of year when it's not the coldest, obviously, but that minus 130 degrees is as cold as the surface of Mars, basically. So that's how cold it is on the South Pole. And so I just thought it would be cool to talk about the South Pole Marathon, because here's the thing about the South Pole that people don't realize. The South Pole is at 9,000 feet elevation too. Because, I didn't know that. Because of the ice, the ice is built up. That's why they say, if the South Pole ice, if Antarctica ever melted, it would flood the world, because there's so much, that ice is miles thick.
Wow.
And so it's at such high elevation on top of the fact that it's so cold. So not only do you have this problem of it being cold, but now you're going to have a hard time breathing and getting enough oxygen in.
Yeah, 9,000 feet. That's like breathing through a straw.
That is tough. Yeah. That is tough for sure. But it would be cool to do it. But I looked it up. And so I thought, man, I would love to do that South Pole Marathon. I looked it up. It's $19,500 for the entry fee.
Is that because, I assume the travel is included?
Yeah, that includes the travel and everything. But you have to travel. That's travel from Chile. So I'd have to get to Chile first. So there's another couple grand. Right.
Might as well climb Mount Everest while you're there.
Yeah. I think to go into Mount Everest is even more expensive than that. I can't remember what it is. It's like
I think it's like 30-something thousand.
Yeah.
I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. But
wow.
And then on the South Pole, I thought this was interesting. On the South Pole, there is actually a pole at the South Pole. It's a little candy stripe looking pole. I mean, it sounds so so goofy, but and it's got this little silver ball on the top, and apparently they the South Pole Marathon, they actually run. I guess I don't know if they run to and from it or run to it or how it works, but they hang out right there at the South Pole, which would be pretty cool. And you think about it, if you were at the South Pole, how cool would it be
run around the world
to run around the world, right?
Yeah,
that would be
I
pretty
just thought
cool.
about that when you were saying it.
Yeah.
I've ran around the world.
That'd be pretty cool.
17 times.
Yeah, in less than a day.
Yeah.
In an
Just
hour.
a few minutes.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Well, we got the Hawkins 10K is like just a couple weeks away now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's getting pretty exciting. I've been texting back and forth with Patrick. He's got some pretty cool things that I think he's going to add to it. As you know, they would. Patrick and Angie, they want to make this interesting, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. We're going to be there. It sounds like we got some people coming in from a lot of different places who are going to be there. So, yeah, still time to get registered. Just go to runforgod.com and click on the Hawkins 10K at the top of the page and get signed up. Yeah, you can join us in person or from anywhere. It's free. Yeah. If you want to make a donation, it is a fundraiser for Run for God. So if you want to make a donation or do your own fundraiser, there's a system in place where you can set up your own fundraising page to support you that would help out Run for God. That would be cool too. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Low key, no frills. Show up and run. How
cool would it be to know there were 1,000 run club members all running a 10K all at the same time? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool.
I think that's doable. Yeah.
And we've also got the Let Your Light Shine running skirt. You know, we had a naming competition. I was blown away at how many names were thrown out there.
Yeah.
I didn't count them, but there was a lot of names, a lot of great names. We narrowed it down to 3, and then we put it out there for the vote. And Let Your Light Shine won. There were actually 2 people that suggested that, and they both won a skirt. These are great. I've seen one in person. I've never wore one, nor will I ever wear one. That would be weird. But yeah, the ladies love them. I think Gay actually she has one. She actually got the very first prototype, and she wore it in a race last weekend, I think. And so yeah, it's the Boulder Athletics is the brand of it. A lot of ladies already wear their skirts of different, patterns and things like that. I don't know all the right terminology, but I hear that they're great skirts and they're highly recommended.
Yeah, that's cool.
So go get one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought it would be interesting. You ever done these things where you say, okay, if you do so much, there's so many kids come to Vacation Bible School, then the preacher's going to swallow a goldfish or something, something crazy like that, right? So this happened to me. I was thinking about it because I was thinking, well, if we got so many, Mitchell could wear a skirt at the Hawkins 10K.
Why are you bringing me into this, man? Because that's not going to happen. I don't care if we have 5,000 runners. That's not going to happen.
Well, here's what's funny about it. And I think this group would be a lot like this, right? So that I brought this up one time, and I don't remember what it was. It was something not as weird as this, but something like that. And I remember bringing it up to my team one time. If you guys do reach such and such goal, then I will do this. And I remember a couple of my girls going, I don't want you doing that. That's weird. I don't want my coach doing that. I was like, well, okay. It's worked out good for me. Yeah. But I think our group would be the same way. It's like, it's not appropriate. So we wouldn't want you to do that anyway.
But I could come up with some pretty cool challenges to throw out there. I think I do some thinking on that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
We get what? How many? 1,500 people signed up for the Hawkins 10K?
I say 1,000.
1,000, and then we do something crazy.
And you'll run 50 miles that day.
I'll run 50 miles that day.
If we get 1,000 people, you'll run 50 miles that day.
I got to think of that. I got to think of the date. I can't do it that day.
Why not?
I got that national championship race the next week. So, yeah. And I mean, I'm looking at trying to at least get close to an American record.
How about this? If we get 1,000 runners at the Hawkins 10K, either there in person or virtually, you'll run 50 miles at some point before the end of the year.
Agreed.
live on Facebook.
Agreed.
The whole time.
Agreed. I'll do that.
There you have it. There you have it.
I'll be glad to do that.
Okay.
We'll do it on the track, and you'll have to count laps.
Seriously, on the track? Are you insane? I just tried to get my two boys to do a 4-mile tempo run on the track, and you'd have thought I was pulling their fingernails out with a file or something.
I'm just trying to figure out a way to get you involved. Get you committed to
50 miles. How long is that going to take you?
That's going to take a while.
7 hours?
Oh,
8 hours?
Well, it took me 12 hours last time I did it. So,
all right, there you have it.
All right,
1,000 registrations for the Hawkins 10K, and Dean will run 50 miles before the end of the year live on the Facebook page or group or whatever we decide. We'll have it live somewhere so that you can tune in through the day while you're at work and say, "Oh, yeah, Dean's still out there suffering." Yeah. But it's all for charity, right?
That's right. That's right. All right.
All right, there you have it, folks.
Get registered.
Social media?
Nope.
Grocery store tabloids?
Nope.
The newspaper?
Not usually.
The national news?
Are you serious?
Is there any media source these days that only shares a positive message? A lot of the media we take in each day can be pretty negative. Why not make the decision right now that your music will only be positive? Sign up for an account at jradio.com today and download the app in your app store with music for every moment and entirely positive Christian message. It'll be nice to hear things going right for a change.
All right, we are back, and if you're not tuning in on Thursday nights, you should. We get a fairly healthy dose of people tuning in on Thursday nights. We get a lot more people that it's recorded, it's on Facebook, so you can always go back and watch it later, and that's fine. But the beauty of being there live on Thursday night is that you can ask questions, and it is interactive and it is fun. And so we'd love for you to tune in. By the time this comes out, I'm in the middle of kind of a series talking about different injuries. So each week I'm going to talk about a different injury.
So what is the strangest question you've ever been asked? Does anything stick out?
Running related?
No, just any question. And on live.
Oh, on live. I don't. You know me. I can't remember what I did yesterday. So it would be.
I didn't know if anybody ever stumped you on there.
Well, I have had some questions I didn't know the answer to for sure.
You had to get back.
But yeah, I mean, when people ask questions about like specific illnesses that somebody has, or maybe an injury I've never even heard of, sometimes that happens.
All right.
So yeah, but I will get back to folks. And so, so tune in Thursday nights. It's great. Well, one thing that we talk about it in the 5K challenge very seriously, but sometimes I don't think we talk about this enough. I talked about it a little bit on a recent Thursday night, is doing too much too quickly.
So, it's probably for new runners, it's probably the number one cause of injury.
That's right. Yeah. We see it all the time. Yeah. So I've got this kid in my neighborhood. I think I've talked about him. He's a 7th grader, and he won't stop. He'll go out, he'll run 3 times a day.
But you love to see that.
I love to see it. His passion is great, and he's really excited about it, and I love seeing that passion, but I'm having to kind of pull him back a little bit. So last week we went for a run. We were going to try to run. He'd run 2.5 miles as far as he's run. He was going to run 3 miles, and he couldn't do it. His calf was hurting him really bad. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's because you're running too much. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happens when you try to do too much. And but he went out on his own and ran that 3 miles because it's like he felt like a failure that day. And I told him a lot of it was in the 6 inches between his ears, and it's all there.
So is he going to do cross country?
He figured it out. Yeah, he's going to run cross country this year.
Good.
He'll be an 8th grader, not a 7th grader. He'll be an 8th grader.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to watch him run.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. He's a kid that needs something to feel good about himself. And it's going to be really good for him. So, but just be careful out there. If I know sometimes you just feel really good, and I'm guilty. I'm still guilty of it today. Mm-hmm. On a day where I feel really good and I run a little too fast, and then the next day I still feel good and I run fast again, and then it takes me a week to recover from those 2 days. But I try to be purposeful about it. So recently I started doing core and strength training with our college team. And so they want to do it together. And so we're doing it all together and I'm leading it. And so I haven't done strength training in a year. And so I told them, I said, the first day we're going to do an abbreviate. We're going to do it very short. We're going to do one set of each thing. And we did. And of course I was sore, but it was a smart, I could have jumped in. I could have done 2 sets of everything, 3 sets. I could have done that, but I wouldn't have been able to move the next day. And it would have been silly.
I've got a similar story we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah. We just don't, you and I don't think we're kind of hard headed. It's like, we know what's coming, but we do it anyway.
Yeah.
So many times. And
yeah. Just like the 50 miler that you just roped me into, I'm going to be really sore after that.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Because just so everybody knows, I won't prepare for that 50 miles.
Yeah. It's kind of like I signed up to run up 100 miles on a treadmill one time.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. And it's fun. You just got to be careful.
Yeah.
Just got to be careful.
Yeah.
All right. Being positive or negative, no matter what you think, it is a choice. So this week's story is about the difference between being positive and being negative. And Rhonda Williams sent in several stories, and this is another one of Rhonda Williams' stories. She's always so good with these. And it's called Negative or Positive. I've had a difficult time with my training this year. I spent the first 4 months of the year sick. 3 different illnesses back to back, and one of them lasted 9 weeks. So I am starting my triathlon training later than usual. I was able to run and bike, but not as much as usual, and pushing myself was out of the question. 4 weeks ago, I finally started to feel normal and was able to kick it up a notch. Wow, it feels great to be able to push myself again. Although I was back to normal 4 weeks ago, today was my first day back in the pool and my swim was harder than I was expecting it to be. The first lap was okay, but the next few were tough. My arms were sore and I felt out of shape and out of breath. Of course, my mind immediately went to the negative. I should have started 3 weeks ago. I'm out of shape. I'm way behind. I'm not going to be ready for my first triathlon of the summer. Stop it. Just stop it, I said to myself. You know that negative thoughts will not help you. They'll just hold you back. So I decided to count my blessings instead. Once I started listing them, I realized I had quite a few reasons to be thankful. First, I had the opportunity to go to the pool that day. Nothing was stopping me. I had a swimsuit that actually fit. Having packed on a few pandemic pounds, that was a real concern. When I arrived at the Y, I discovered that I had not forgotten anything, a real possibility, since I haven't been in the pool in several months. There was a lane available. I wouldn't have to wait, and I wouldn't have to share. I also reminded myself that just like with running, the first few minutes are the hardest. So I settled in, determined to do whatever I could, and just be grateful that I could swim at all. And just like with running, I started to feel better after the first several laps and actually felt strong when I finished. I left the Y feeling satisfied with my workout, hopeful about my races, and humble and grateful that God cares about my training and gives me what I need to get through each workout. He's the one who gave me the ability to do what I do, and He expects me to use it to glorify Him. So, of course, He's with me every step and every stroke. So now I'm looking forward to my race. Changing how I thought my difficult workout and drawing from His strength instead of focusing on my weaknesses changed my whole outlook. And I went from feeling defeated to victorious. There's a saying among runners, the first mile is a liar. That first mile or first several laps in the pool is the hardest of the entire workout and can make you feel like it's pointless to continue. You should just give up and go home. If you've been running for any time at all, you know that if you just stick with it, you'll start to feel better, stronger, and you will finish feeling accomplished. The key is to just keep going, relying on God to provide the strength you need, one step, one stroke at a time. That first mile is a liar, and so is Satan. He is constantly whispering in my ear, you're not good enough, smart enough, strong enough. You can't do it. Just give up and go home. Too many times in the past, I have fallen for his lies, but not today. Today, I whispered back, just watch me.
Man, Rhonda always knocks it out of the park.
She does. I love her stories.
This is a great story, but I've got to disagree with Rhonda in one instance.
Yeah?
So, I'm an old triathlete, but I haven't swam in a few years now. And this coming weekend, Lane and now Landon, just out of the blue, have decided Lane was planning to do the Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon. It's an Olympic distance. It's going to be his first Olympic distance. And, he rarely races triathlon around here, so we thought we'll go up. My brother has a boat, and we went up to the Tennessee River, and Lane wanted to swim the course a few times. It's a 1,500-meter course, and he wanted to swim it 3 times. And, like every father and son, we got to smack talking a little bit. And, me reliving my glory days of swimming. He said, well, I'll give you a head start and we'll race. I said, you're on. No biggie, right?
Yeah.
Swimming's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
He said, I'll give you 300-meter head start. And I'm thinking,
that's no problem. I know I can beat him.
1,200 meters, it can't be that hard. So we go up there. First of all, I let him do his first 2 sets, and I'm going to race him on his last set. So he's already got 3,000 meters under his belt. I'm going to get a 300-meter head start. No biggie. So we drop him off, and then we pull forward about 300 meters, and I jump in. And Dean, I started swimming, and unlike Rhonda, my stroke was there. It felt like I had never stopped swimming. I was thinking, I'm going to kill him. There's no way he's going to catch me.
You're going to beat him by laps.
And for 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 minutes, I don't even know what it was. I felt like I had never stopped swimming until I didn't. It's like all of a sudden my lungs were gone.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't have lungs in my body all of a sudden. My stroke was there, but I couldn't get my arms to move. I'm kind of quasi panicking, not of drowning, but I'm like, I'm in trouble here. I can see the boat, my brother and his wife and Holly. By the way, Landon jumped into race 2. Landon has swam as much as I have in the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And so, but he signed up to do this race, typical Landon. So I can see Landon, and I rolled over at one point. This was my mistake. I rolled over at one point, and I could see Lane was like 50 yards behind me.
Oh.
This isn't 500 yards into the swim.
Oh, no.
Lane has already caught me, and I'm panicking. And I see Landon going ahead of me, and so Landon's past me. And then I flipped back over, and I'm trying to beat water, and I see Lane just start to cruise by me. He's like, it's like a speedboat. I'm swimming, but it's like I'm sitting still. And I thought, well, I'm going to catch up to him and grab his leg and, pull him back and start horse. I couldn't even get 2 strokes out at a fast pace. And I just rolled over and threw my hand up in the air, and I was like, y'all come pick me up. So, yeah.
Humble pie.
I was complete opposite of Rhonda's story here.
Yeah.
That first few minutes, I was like, man, I got this.
Yeah.
But then reality showed up. Age, not being in the water for a few years at all. I felt like you that day.
Yeah.
That first time you got in the Tennessee River.
Yeah.
I felt that. I was like, I'm about to drown out here. And you got to know your limits.
Yes.
We accept these challenges. You just accepted to run 50 miles.
Yeah.
I don't think we don't learn very easily. So.
No. But, there's fun in all of it. There's a story.
Yeah.
There's a story. The last time I decided the day before to run 50 miles, it was, it's a story. Yeah. It was miserable. I've never been in a position where I couldn't break, 14 minutes for a mile, but I was at that point.
It's helpless, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Like, what have I done with my life? Yeah. You start questioning everything. So, yeah, great story, Rhonda. This is I completely relate to it. The devil's always in our ear. He's the master of lies, and just trying to get us to mail it in.
And it's not just the devil these days. These days, we reward people for being a victim.
Yeah.
And again, I know that sounds political. I don't want it to be, I don't mean it in a political way. We really do. And it's good that we rally around people who are struggling and are truly a victim. But it's almost become a status symbol. Sure. And so it almost makes us want to wallow in our misery and show everybody, look, I'm a victim. And that's not what God intends for us.
Yeah, I think society really, it says, you know, I think of it in the context of quitting something. You know, you quit, that's okay, you know, whatever. But the way it should be, yeah, there's going to be times when we quit stuff. No question. I'm not discounting that at all, but it's what we do after. Yeah. You know, just like Rhonda was talking about, she had it in her mind. She almost went home. And some people might have went home. But what do you do tomorrow? You get back up and you go at it again. And that's where it's important. Just like the Facebook post that you put up. I'm trying to bring her name back to my head. Kim Ann. Yeah. You know, she had to stop for whatever reason, but she didn't live there. Right. She pulled herself back up by her bootstraps, whatever analogy you want to use, and she hit it back head on. Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, you never hear anybody who does that, who does pull themselves back up and gets back in it as soon as they can. You never hear anybody going, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Yeah. They're always glad that they did. So
what is the saying that you hear? I want to say you used it as a quote one time. You never have a bad day if you learn, or something like that. The point is it's okay to fail. Yeah. Failure is what is a springboard to success many times, but you got to turn around and get back on that springboard. Yep.
Yep, it goes to, you know, we talk about all the time Thomas Edison's light bulb and how he failed 10,000 times trying to design a light bulb, and he finally got it because he was persistent at it. And sometimes that's just what we have to do. Sure. How about some scripture? 1 Kings 18:44 through 46. So Elijah said, "Go and tell Ahab, hitch up your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds and the wind rose. A heavy rain started falling, and Ahab rode off to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came on Elijah, and tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. You know, I think we mentioned one time that John and Peter was the first race in the Bible, but I completely forgot about Elijah here.
Well, I got curious, and so I looked it up. Guess how far it is from Mount Carmel to Jezreel?
I read 14 miles. What did you read?
I read a 50K. I read 50K.
Yeah, I saw different numbers, so I'm not.
So it could be the first half marathon.
Could be.
It might be the first ultra marathon. Yeah. We may need to pull that up on an actual map and not rely on Google. Yeah. To tell us. So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's wow.
Yeah. Well, God clearly told Elijah, "I want you to get to Jezreel first." Yeah. And so Elijah was whatever means necessary to get there. So he participated in the first cross country run that we know about, first recorded one, and this takes place after the most, I think, is the most fascinating story in all the Bible. Mm-hmm. There's so many great and fantastic and amazing stories in the Bible, but this whole thing with Elijah versus and God versus Baal, and you know, that story is so classic. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially for people like you and I, we kind of like to poke fun. We like to be kind of a smart alecky. You know, that's.
I'm not. That may be you, Dean.
Yeah, you're not that way. Yeah. But that's kind of, you know, Elijah's like, well, you know, why don't you just call out a little? Maybe he can't hear you. Maybe he's sleeping. Yeah. You know, I just love that story. It's so great. But Elijah's a great example of somebody who listened to all the positive things coming from God, because it would have been real easy. Can you imagine the negativeness that was around him at that time? Yeah. I mean, he's about to, I mean, if he fails, if God fails Elijah in this case, Elijah's dead. Yeah. And of course he didn't. And
What is that? We always say that's the picture of true boldness when you. I'm trying to remember how I say it now.
Yeah.
When you step out and rely on faith, the only thing you have to fall back on is what you claim to put your faith in.
Yeah.
That's boldness.
That's
and Elijah clearly did that here.
Yeah, that's about as bold a move as anybody ever made.
You're going to die if God don't show up.
Yeah.
You know, we usually say do things that will fail if God don't show up. Well, it's a lot different when you doing things that you could die.
Yeah.
If God don't show up. That's true boldness right there.
That is. Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places.
I'm always amazed at how many times, I've talked many times about we read through the Bible as a family, and right now we're in Romans, and last night we were in Romans 12, and Romans 12 is where it talks about loving those who hate you, doing things, heap coals on their head by loving them, and I think the reason for that, because that's hard to read in Romans, you're like, why? And it's because of this truth that many times our enemy, it's not the person we're dealing with. It's way bigger than that person. It's cosmic powers. It's darkness. It's Satan. It's all of the things that are behind that person. That person is just a puppet for what's really going on from a spiritual level, and that's why we're to love them. As hard as that is, but Paul is very clear in Romans. Love those people.
Yeah.
Who hate you. Be nice to them. Be kind to them. Love them. But that is so hard to do. But it's because of this truth that it's not the person.
Yeah.
People lash out at you. We know it through Run for God because we get some of the emails and the letters and the comments on social media. It's just vile stuff sometimes. But we know that it's not that person.
Yeah.
There's something else going on there that's much bigger than that person.
What a great way to put it. And, this has a great parallel with running as well, because very often the problem with our running is not physical. The problem with our running is mostly mental.
Most often not.
Yeah. I mean, this morning was a good example. So I'm doing this workout with these ladies. The first couple of push-ups I did, oh, man, they hurt because I'm still sore from the last ones we did. But, after I kept doing them, I felt a lot better, and that's the way a lot of this feels like. But what we tend to do is our mind tells us that first one, we're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm too sore. Mm-hmm. And the truth is I can work through that. But very often, this whole idea, this is kind of off the subject, I think, a little bit, but a lot of times we talk about listening to our body, and listening to our body is important. Mm-hmm. Please don't hear me say anything other than that. But very often, we use listen to our body as an excuse not to push through things too. And because a lot of times it's our mind, and our mind tells us something that's just not true.
So I'm going to throw my two boys under the bus for just a minute, because I've told them when you came in earlier to ask you about this, and I think they might have already been gone. They did a tempo run today, and you know how Lane is. He hates the track. He does not like to do tempo runs on the track. I love doing tempo runs on the track because the watches, it's each lap. What is it?
Yep.
Is it right? Is it wrong? Are you slow? Are you fast? It's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Well, Lane loves to go to Cohutta up in your neck of the woods, and he wanted to go up there this morning to do a tempo run. They were going to do 2-mile warm-up, 4-mile tempo, 2-mile cool-down. And they come back, and, as coach, first thing we said was, well, how'd it go?
Yeah.
It went all right. So what does that mean? And both of them, I mean, the stars must have been aligned, everything just perfect. They said, well, our watches are off today. I said, what? Yeah, something must be weird up there because we weren't quite hitting our times. I said, really? And he said, yeah, our watches must have been off. And I said, that just makes the case for doing a tempo run on the track because, if your GPS isn't working, the stopwatch is still working when you make each lap. And they said, we knew you were going to say that. It's just something was wrong with our watches. I said, it could be.
Both watches.
It could be that y'all were just running slow. No, that wasn't it. I said, well, I'll tell you what, Dean's going to be here in a little while. Why don't you ask Dean about it? No, I don't think we're going to do that. So when we get done here, you need to go yell at Lane and say, hey, man, I think you might need a new watch. Do you need a new watch? Do I need to go buy you one? Is your watch off? Whatever. But
well, I will say this, and I know you're not going to
don't justify it, Dean.
Well, I'm not completely justifying it. I will say this, though. There is one particular spot on that road, the very road they ran on, where there does seem to be something fishy about the way GPS registers that spot. Because I will be running it, let's say
30 seconds fishy?
30 seconds per mile?
Yeah.
For 1 mile, possibly.
The first mile?
But not for, what was their warm-up?
They did a 2 mile
miles?
warm up, 4 mile tempo, 2 mile.
It would have been in their second mile. So it wouldn't have been their first mile, it would have been their second mile. That would have been the struggle. So if their second mile was significantly slower than their first, third, and fourth were good, then I would say I'll buy that. But
I don't buy it. I'm not letting them off. Nope. Nope, Dean.
Well, the bottom line is a lot of the things that we go through are mental. And in this case, sure. I'm sure there's a good portion of that is
Well, let me get back to the point. The point of all that to say is that, when you're on the track, it is what it is. Each lap is what it is. So there's only...
You can't justify it in
one
the middle
reason.
of it.
There's one reason that the time ain't right. And you're running slow. But you get out there... Because I think in hard runs, you need to do everything you can to take all variables out.
I agree.
Because it's hard enough to think about the run. But when you're out there and your mind starts justifying, well, my watch must be off. Well, it goes from I might be running slow to my watch is wrong. Yep. And Lane and Landon are not those type. They don't constantly blame things, but it's just natural.
It is.
Well, my watch must be wrong.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Where if you're on the track, we take that away from you.
Yeah.
So, try to, especially in hard efforts, you want to try to take away every outside variable that could pose itself as an excuse. You want to take that out of the picture.
Yeah, and that's why I do all my I do most of my tempo runs on the track for that very reason, because I like it. I like being able to check every lap to see where I am, so that I know if I'm slowing down from one lap to the next. I actually push the lap button on my watch every time I go through the lap.
Because the purpose of a tempo run is to stay perfectly even.
Yep. Yeah. And typically on most of my tempo runs, I will my each lap will vary no more than 3 seconds at the very most. Yeah. 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And that's the reason why we have to stay positive, because Satan is intent on making us negative. But the one thing about this verse that I always like to point out is that it says that your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion. He's trying to deceive us into believing that he's more powerful and bigger and nastier and meaner than he is. Right. He's not. And that's where being positive comes in, because once you hit that realization, it's a lot easier to resist the things that he's got in front of you. Yeah,
but we also have to understand that the devil is powerful. He is crafty. He's the father of lies. I think this is why I've said on this podcast before, and it kind of takes people off guard. It took me off guard the first time he said it, but my pastor, Charlie, he made the comment one time to me. He said, I will never make the statement, I will never cheat on my wife. Because that kind of takes your guard down. Mm-hmm. And
it's like challenging the devil.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. We need to understand that if we slip up, the devil has the power to make that happen. Mm-hmm. He has the craftiness to put us into situations that would allow that to happen. And we need to be sober-minded. We need to be watchful. We need to be sober-minded literally and figuratively. Yeah. Because it's when we are not in control of when we don't have control of our thoughts, that's when the devil can sneak in the quickest.
Yeah.
And so this is such a powerful verse that we kind of skim over sometimes, but it's true. We have to constantly be on guard, knowing that things can happen, and we need to be watching out for it. If I made the comment, no one's ever going to break in my house, I'm just going to leave all the doors unlocked and put a sign out front that says, nobody's ever going to break in my house. The doors are unlocked all the time. Well, guess what's probably going to happen?
Yeah.
Somebody's probably going to break in. But we're vigilant about our homes. We need to be have the same vigilance about our heart, our mind, our eyes, everything. We need to have that same vigilance.
What a great example. The other thing about this, the part of this verse that's very, very true, is that Satan does devour people.
Sure.
I mean, we just talked about, you said just a few minutes ago that when people are acting a certain way that is anti-biblical, it's not them.
Right.
It's Satan, and they're a puppet for that. And
sure.
So we have to. That's why being sober is so important. Is being always on alert that is coming. Just like you said. Question: does your mind automatically go negative when faced with a tough workout or other adversity in your day? Do you turn it into a positive thought instead? I try to turn things positive. I really work on trying to be positive, and sometimes even to a fault. I know sometimes like some of the athletes that I coach, I really need to be more direct with, you just gave up, rather than, well, it's hot today.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that, but I'm always looking for a reason to be positive.
Yeah.
And I think it's way better to have that default than the opposite default. Everything's falling apart all the time. Because if you're Chicken Little, you're probably not going to be a good runner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what Rhonda said in her story is so true. It's your whole countenance changes when you start to look at, because you can look at the positive and negative in any situation. I just had a conversation just a few days ago that works with us on the construction side, and it's on that job site down there. It's pretty crazy right now. I mean, everybody's all over each other. There's constantly something is wrong somewhere when you got that many people out there. And one of our guys was like, man, I just don't know how much longer I can do this. I mean, the stress level is high. There's a lot of deadlines, and I said, Donnie, just think back to 2008.
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
A lot of us were sitting at home wondering how we're going to make it. I said, it's crazy out here, but harness that. I mean, be excited about that. I mean, there's, you can look at stressful, insanely busy times. You can let them crush you, or you can rise to them and say, this isn't 2008, 2009. We were sitting at home wondering if we were ever going to get to work again. And now we got, all that we can handle right now. We need to be thankful for that.
Yeah.
You can be stressed and thankful at the same time, but many times when you're thankful, it tends to melt that stress away a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, kind of along those lines, that they were talking about how hot it was, and I didn't run in the morning, so I was going to have to run in the evening when it was hot. And, it's, I don't know, the real field temperature is like 105. It's hot out. And their thought was, I could never do that. And my thought was, that's extra resistance. Mm-hmm. It's good for me. That will actually help me become a better runner.
Poor man's altitude.
People move to Boulder, Colorado to train because it's at altitude, and that's just like it's a different stimulus than the heat and humidity. But it's basically just putting your body under extra stress, and you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we be excited about the idea that, okay, I'm going to run in this heat and humidity, and it's going to make me stronger? Yeah. And am I going to slow down? Yeah, I'm going to slow down a little bit, but it's good. It's good. I think that's just the way we should look at it, at all things. The problem is that the world is telling us that it's cool to complain about things. How many people do we know that it's every time you see them, it's a complaint about something, and you just, at some point in time, you got to go, okay, it is what it is, and move on. I was just talking with yesterday a friend of ours who Bill Richards. He's been struggling with some physical things here lately, and I didn't realize that he was going through some of the things that he's going through. And I talked to him yesterday, and his attitude, Bill, he's been through a lot.
He has a lot of issues, but typically you would never know it.
I've never heard him complain a single time about any of it. He'll talk about it, and if you ask him about it, he's glad to share.
He would love to have the opportunity to run in 105 heat index.
100, that's absolutely right.
He would love that opportunity.
Yes.
He don't have it.
That's right.
And we need to learn from that.
Yeah.
We need to learn from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got it good. Most of us, almost every one of us listening has it great compared to, all of us have it great compared to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. But and another thing that I think about in relation to all this is the world is busy telling us that everything is unsafe too. And heat's one of those things. Now, do you have to be careful in the heat? Sure you do.
Sure.
But people aren't dropping dead from running in the heat. I mean, it's not happening. Now, does it happen? Has it happened? It's happened, but we're not going to die because but we tend to believe the people who are so sensational about those things, and we got to be careful with that and look on the more positive side. And that's how it starts, is just looking at it as an opportunity rather than a bad thing. Another question: what lie is the devil whispering in your ear?
My way is easier.
Yeah.
I think that's
a general.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually, and when you think about things that the devil often lures us into, at first it seems easier, and many times we're just tired and we settle for those things. I mean, a sin can be settling at many times, but it's never easier in the long run.
Yeah,
following what he's hanging over your head and trying to get you to bite at, it may be easy in the moment, but it's never easy in the long run.
Yeah. I think about this too, because we think about the devil whispering lies, but sometimes what he does is he takes some truth and he plays that truth up really big, right? So he'll take this little thing, and he'll say, Dean, you sure are getting old. You should probably just kind of, start taking it easy, because you're getting old. Running this heat's probably really bad for you. You probably shouldn't do that, because you're not a spring chicken anymore. And I could listen to all that and internalize it and
justify it.
And justify it. But I need to do something different than that, for sure. Or maybe it's somebody who's out there who you've been trying to lose weight and you've had trouble your whole life with trying to do that, and you get a setback and you go, well, here we go again. And don't let that happen. Fight back against that. Just like in the story
look at what Rhonda did.
But Rhonda and the Facebook post from this week as well, Kim Ann. It's all about, at some point in time, you just gotta, like Elijah picked up his cloak and stuck it in his belt and said, time to go.
Yep.
And sometimes that's what we got to do. Choose to be positive. Last question. Starting your day each morning by listing 3 things you have to be grateful for can make an amazing difference in how you approach your day. List 3 blessings here.
I'm glad she posed this question, because you hear people say list things you're thankful for, and I don't know that I've ever really done that. Put them down in writing, and so I did that here. And man, I found myself almost becoming a Baptist preacher right here. At least my pastor, everything has to start with the same letter and all that. And when I put these out, I really didn't think about it when I did it. And I looked and I was like, whoa, those all have the same letter. But it was the comfort of my salvation. I'm thankful for that.
Right.
The closeness of my family.
Yeah.
And the character of my friends. So everything started with C. But I really sat and thought about the last one, the character of my friends. You and I both have a wide range of friends. And I think I have saved friends. I have lost friends. I have loud friends. I have quiet friends. And I really got to thinking about that item that I'm thankful for, that all of those different personalities and characteristics help make up who we are. The variety of I don't know. I just thought that was I love that question, and I've never done that. So thanks, Rhonda. I've never actually put that down, and so that's my 3.
Well, I didn't write down 3. I guess I should have, but there's so many things that come to mind when you think about the things that you're thankful for, and but mine would be very similar to yours. I tell you, I'm thankful for a wife that's so tough. Kind of like Bill, we were just talking about. She's been through a lot. And when you talk to her about it, she's the answers.
Never complains. I've never heard Debbie complain.
No, she gets tired and it gets hard sometimes, and you can see it on her. And but out in public, no, you never see it. And she's just so. I mean, her answer to everything is God's got a plan, and that's so refreshing because it helps me. Because some days, when days get tough, I look at her. I just told her just this morning. I said, sometimes I feel so guilty because I'm so healthy. I don't have any issues at all to worry about. And she's like, everybody's got something. And she's right. And we just put back to the whole positive, negative thing. If we can be positive about whatever those things are, being thankful for the great things that we do have and not being negative about the things we don't have.
And looking for the good. I mean, Debbie, one thing I can say about Debbie, or at least my perception of Debbie, is she's always looking for the good.
Yeah.
In whatever situation she's in, and we can all learn from that.
For sure.
At Run for God, we care about more than just your exercise. We care about your relationship with God, and we believe that the music you listen to while you run can help you build your relationship with God. That's why we partner with J Radio. J Radio offers a variety of positive and Christian playlists to listen to while you run. You can find a playlist that I put together on the Run for God station at J Radio.
All right, we're back, and I saw a post the other day about overhyped foods.
There's a bunch of those.
Yeah. Are there any that you can think of off the top of your head that's like, I don't understand the big deal?
Butternut squash and Brussels sprouts. We could do without those.
Yeah, well, we could do without them, but they're not necessarily overhyped. I mean, is there anybody out there going butternut squash is the greatest thing in the world?
They make it like it's, I don't know, like a menu sometimes you'll see. It's like it's gourmet because you're eating butternut squash. I'm like, no, it's gross.
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts are gross.
But people like them. Yeah.
My wife loves them roasted and smell the whole house up. And I'm like, please cook those outside. Somehow build a fire, cook them outside because that is disgusting.
Well, I have to admit, for me, and this is going to sound blasphemous, I don't understand the obsession over coffee. I've never liked coffee. I don't like the smell of coffee.
That probably surprises you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a give me Kirkland's Costco brand K-Cup, and that's what I drink every morning. Now, Lane and Holly, they love all the designer coffees. I don't get it. Coffee's coffee.
But I don't like any coffee.
Well, yeah, you're weird in that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying is.
Tea guy.
And people are so obsessed over coffee.
Yeah. It's big business now.
Yeah, it really is.
Huge business now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the 29-cent K-Cup coffee drinker.
Yeah. Well, I bring it up because, I've been on this plant-based diet now for right at 2 years. And, it's going great. I'm a little looser at it than I used to be. This past weekend, I ate hamburgers and hot dogs at my son's house. He had us over for Father's Day, and so I eat whatever's there.
Sure.
And but I felt terrible. And this is probably TMI. I don't know if I should share this on here or not, but I can tell how bad whatever I'm eating is based on how many times I have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. If I eat food that's bad for me, it causes a lot of inflammation in my body, and I've got to get up every hour or two to go to the bathroom. If I eat food that's really good for me, I'll sleep through the night.
Really?
It's really, I put those two together just recently. And that's because, they talk a lot about, there's a lot about as you get older, you prostate issues and things like that, and you wind up having to get a. Well, I wonder if a lot of it is just the accumulation of a poor diet over many years that causes all of that, rather than just the fact you're getting older.
Well, I think anything that causes inflammation causes irritation to the bowels, which is what when your bowels get irritated, that's what causes the urge to go to the restroom. So I can see that. I can connect those dots. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I have found that from a plant-based diet standpoint, it's funny how how many hours do you spend smoking stuff?
Oh, a lot.
A lot.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's good. It tastes fantastic. But we take plant-based foods and we don't spend any time preparing them, and then we expect them to taste as good as that thing we spent 10 hours preparing.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you'll spend a little bit more time being a little bit more creative, I have found with a plant-based diet. A plant-based diet can taste pretty good if you're careful with it.
I don't like, the go-to is boiled vegetables or something like that. But you can take a platter of vegetables, zucchini, squash, broccoli, not Brussels sprouts, and you can take those and put them on the smoker.
Yeah.
Put some olive oil on them and some red wine vinaigrette or something, and put those on the smoker. And man, you get them a little bit crispy.
Yeah.
And you can do that, but I would rather have a slab of something on there than a slab of vegetables.
I get it.
Vegetables are a side; they're not a main course.
I get it. I think we all have different palates, and we all have different things that we like. I always think about cilantro. Cilantro, because the truth is with cilantro, there seems to be this thing where it tastes really bad to some people and tastes really good to others. Yeah. And so there's it's some kind of a gene that we have that makes cilantro tastes like dirty dishwater to me. That's what I think cilantro tastes like.
Yeah, I can pick out a tiny piece.
Yes.
And a whole bowl of salsa.
Yeah, if the salsa's got it in it, I know it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. All right, it is a time for Dean's Thoughts, and that's a time when I share something that I've written about the intersection between running and faith. So we just talked about Star Trek. You're not a big Star Trek fan, obviously, since you've never seen it.
Nope.
Well, they used to use a phrase all the time. They used to talk about shields up. Shields, that's like a force field around the spaceship, right? And so this one is called Shields Up. If you're a science fiction fan, you've heard the phrase shields up many times. In any movie or show with a spaceship, chances are there are many dangerous adversaries around it, and a shield provides protection from them. In the case of a sci-fi movie, the shield is usually an unseen shell around whatever is being protected. We have probably all seen a movie or show where the failure of the shield was so important that it was the focus of the plot. Shields have always been an important part of sci-fi movies and shows. In biblical times, soldiers carried shields to protect themselves from dangerous arrows, rocks, or any other implements of warfare. There were many types of shields, from small to large, used for important protection. You could go into battle without a shield, but the risk to your well-being was obvious. Soldiers would never go into battle without some sort of protection along with their weapon. Shields were an integral part of a soldier's gear. Or think about this illustration. A 4-year-old child is out with his parents, and a stranger comes up to him and asks a question. What's the response from a child in this case? Well, he gets behind one of his parents to use them as a shield of protection from the person he doesn't know. There are many examples of shields in our world. So what does a runner's shield look like? What do we do to protect ourselves from the potentially bad things that can happen to us? I would say that our shields come in many forms. First, what are the elements that we need protection from? There are some immediate dangers, like cars traveling on the same road that we're running. In that case, our shield is running against traffic and keeping our eyes up as cars approach. Or an even better shield is running on trails or in parks where there are no potential interactions with cars. That's an obvious application, but there are some others we don't think about too much. There are shields we can employ against running injuries. For example, stretching keeps your muscles long and loose and provides protection from muscle strains. Sleeping well allows our bodies to recover better before we go out and run again. Focusing on running form allows the body to perform at a better efficiency and keeps us from ranges of motion that can cause injury. Fueling your body well with the right mix of nutrients gets us to our optimum weight and ensures the body functions efficiently. I could go on and on with the example after example, but you get the idea. It's all the little things. There are many things we can do to protect ourselves from injury. As part of the whole armor of God, Ephesians chapter 6 tells us that we are to take up the shield of faith. The shield of faith is the first line of defense against our enemy who is prowling around like a lion seeking someone to devour, as Peter illustrated. The Bible tells us that the shield of faith can extinguish the flaming arrows of our enemy. Our faith is used to protect us from the whims of the day. When we are exposed to anti-biblical things, it is our faith used as a shield that allows us to stand firm in what we believe. We don't have to retreat because our shield of faith protects us from outside influence. The next time you question whether taking time to stretch is important, or you're tempted to get less sleep so that you can stay up late to watch a show that you really don't need, think of this illustration of a shield and protect yourself from the things that can harm you. Shields are intentionally used to provide protection. Why should you leave your fitness up to the weapons all around you that would do you harm? Get your shields up today and protect yourself. And always, always, always carry with you your shield of faith so that you can extinguish the many flaming arrows coming at us from all directions in today's world. Be intentional in your defense and watch the flaming arrows fall harmlessly to the ground.
Wow. It's a great illustration, Dean. Yeah, it's so true. I like the concept of the flaming arrows, but I think the scary thing today is it's not the big flaming arrows that'll get us.
Yeah.
It's the little ones that they try to shoot under that shield.
Yeah.
That creep into our families, our faith, our kids' eyes. You know, it's all the little things that it seems like society's doing now, because many times they figure out we can't shoot that big arrow and change you, but we can do the little things. And it's why we can't. It's so important that as believers and Christians, we can't settle. Mm-hmm. Even on the smallest things, we have to stand firm. And many times that looks like old-fashioned or legalistic or whatever. But it's important, because if it's a slippery slope, you step one step over that edge, and that's when things get slick. And before you know it, you're away from the faith, out of church. And your life's miserable. Yeah. And so this was a great illustration of that.
Yeah, this is what kind of struck me. This is where I heard that they used to have this formation in Roman times. It was called a testudo, and this testudo, I think it stands for turtle. And basically, what happens is the people on the front line of a group have their shields perpendicular to the ground. Mm-hmm. And then the people behind them have their shields overhead, mm-hmm. so that the entire group is all protected. They have this one big shell around them. And I think about shields from a standpoint of, I'm to protect you and you're to protect me. We do that in different ways. Mm-hmm. One of those is to call each other out. You know, when we're doing something and we're headed in the wrong direction, and a good friend of ours, we see them headed in that direction, it's important. Mm-hmm. for us to go, hey, you know, that's not you. Mm-hmm. And I think that our churches provide that protection. The people in our churches. That's why I think that being around a body of believers is so important, because you're not only using your own shield, but you're becoming even more protected by using the shields of the people around you as well. Yeah, I think that's important.
Great story.
Yeah, there are a couple of, it's hard to know where to kind of draw the line. When I think about it from a running standpoint, there's so many things that you can do You know, there's, I mean, a gazillion
We say
things.
all the things.
Yeah. But do I take an ice bath every day?
Sure.
Well, no, you don't take an ice bath every day. But how many times is a right number? And so sometimes, a lot of times, when I think about and I talk with other athletes about doing all of these things, is what's the right amount of protection, of shield that we need? Because the truth is, you know, when a soldier goes into battle, if they've got a shield that's too unwieldy and too big, it ain't gonna do them any good.
Right.
So
It's too cumbersome.
yeah, so we've got to we got to think about that from that standpoint too. So there's a couple of determining factors, I think. First, how much time do you have? And then how much do you need that protection in general? So in the case of the ice bath, I don't need an ice bath very often, but every once in a while is good. So when would I do it? I would do it, you know, the day after a long run, or the day of a long run is a good time for me that I've found. But you got to figure all that stuff out.
Well, you talked earlier about, you know, listening to your body, and I think from a running standpoint, many times our body will tell us when we need these. Like in case of a instance of an ice bath, you know, I know Lane, his body kind of tells him, hey, I need to do this today, or I need to roll, or I need to do. Your body kind of tells you that. But on the flip side, with our walk with Christ, many times that's in the form of conviction. You know, and I talked about settling, and I think about, you know, TV shows nowadays. And I'm going to sound really old fashioned here, but I do think they've gotten worse. And I think, you know, a lot of times Holly and I will be watching a TV show, and something will come on, and I'll feel that conviction. You know, that the scene pops up, and it seems like it's happening more and more nowadays, but the scene pops up that it's just completely inappropriate. Yeah. And it goes against everything we believe. I try to make it a point that as soon as I feel that conviction, turn it off and don't ever go back to that show. Now, that's dwindled down our options through the years. Yeah. But I think that is one place as a society that they're shooting the arrows under the shields.
I think you're right.
Because it's innocent. I mean, it's just a TV show. It's in our homes. It's not hurting anybody. Yes, it is. Yeah. You know, our eyes are the entrance to our souls. And you just listen to the Holy Spirit in those times, because it is easy to say, it's no big deal. Right. Well, if you make that comment, then something's prompted you opposite that comment.
That's true.
You know? Yeah, that's true. You're defending it in some way, and just we need to be realistic with ourselves in knowing that, because I've done the same thing. I have stopped watching TV shows that I love to watch. They were great shows. They were entertaining, but they've got an angle that doesn't jihad with my walk with Christ. And jihad is a technical word. Yeah. And
a Southern technical word.
Right. But we have to be honest with ourselves and say, if we're getting defensive, well, it's no big deal. It's just a TV.
We're probably too far.
We are. We need to turn it off, or walk away, or whatever. Remove ourselves from that situation, because God is clearly telling you something. Yeah.
Yeah, and the best way to figure out what we should do and where we should go, get out your Bible and really study Ephesians 6. And because there's so much of this is in our mind. Now, whether you watch that, I mean, it's a physical thing to watch the show, but it's what's happening in your mind that's the problem. And that's where we tend to think that, well, I can reject that physically. I can reject that scene. I'm taking that scene, that part of that show out, and I'm just not paying any attention to it. I'm not giving it any credit for whatever it's doing. And
that's just not the case.
That's just a lie from the devil, right? That's like that first mile.
Before you know it, that'll be normal.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what's happening to our world today, is we're normalizing all this stuff. And the evil side is getting more and more bold about it. Yeah. And it's causing this to happen more rapidly than I've ever seen it. That's truth.
And that's true. And I remember when I was a kid, you would never, ever, ever hear a curse word on a television. Ever. I mean, that just wasn't even thought about. And now you hear it all the time.
It's normal.
It's normal. And that happened over time, a little bit at a time, letting in a word here and a word there. And I'm not saying that, if I know people who are good people who use language that I don't use, but it's not a wholesome thing, and there's no reason for it. There's not a good reason for it. And so that's the way it works. It's over time, and it just wears us down, right? So, yep, we got to be careful. Definitely got to be careful about staying away from those things and keeping our shields up. And as Ephesians 6 calls it, our shield of faith is what will protect us.
Good word, Dean.
Do you struggle with motivation to exercise? Are you looking for something that will challenge you and inspire and motivate you? The Run for God Run Club is just what you need to get off the couch and on your way to a fitter, healthier you. Stop trying to get into better shape and do it. With the help and inspiration of thousands of others who are going through the same challenges you face. Whether you're participating in the Couch to Marathon Challenge or just looking for a daily pick-me-up to get active, join the Run for God Run Club today. You can join for as little as 27 cents a day. So what are you waiting for? Get started today at www.runforgod.com. All right, we're back. And, this is the point we normally talk about some kind of professional running thing. And there's just not that much going on right now. But it starts. By the time this podcast comes out, we'll have the USA Championships. And so we're going to have some really important things coming up. And I'm really, really excited about it. I know that you are like on pins and needles. You've already set your recorder to record all the track and field that's going to be. I know. So,
but what I want to know about, let's just move on past that. I want to know about this kid that ran 6 miles a week and it was trying to break the 800 world record or whatever. How did that go? I really don't even know.
He has missed the national high school record.
It's a high school record.
Yes.
Okay.
He has missed the national high school record now 2 times by a total of 0.08 of a second. He got closer.
I love this kid, and I don't even know him.
He missed it by like 0.03 of a second.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, probably had the race been a little bit, had they executed the race better, he would have broken it, because there was like a guy trying to keep up with him and made him run a little extra distance and stuff, which, hey, it's a high school championship race. That guy has every right to be out there. I'm not saying it shouldn't have been that way. Absolutely. I love to see a kid go. I know this guy's the best 800-meter runner on the planet right now for his age, but I'm going to try to hang with him. I love that attitude. Yeah. So, but that, to truth be told, he has the ability to do it. So, yeah. A lot of stuff going on. We got Solomon Barrega just won a 5K. So he's the Olympic 10K champion, and he just won this. He's running fantastic, and Ethiopia won't let him run both races because Ethiopia does not allow anybody to double.
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
Why? What is the reason?
I don't know. I guess they feel like it's more opportunity for more people. But you would think they would be focused on
best runners.
Bring the medals home for Ethiopia. Of course, they're good enough that they can probably still do that in a lot of cases. But you want to, when you have a world championship, you want to have the best in every event. It makes it so much better to watch. So and right now, a lot of the best runners in the world, a lot of them are really coming. This is going to be a really cool season of track and field over the next month and a half. So if you're not a track and field fan, now is a great time to check it out, because like I said, by the time this comes out, USA Nationals is going to be over, but the World Championships are coming up soon, and it's a great time to watch it. The 200 meters, for whatever reason, normally the United States is really good at the 100 meters, and we still are. Mm-hmm. Right now, we have got so many 200 meter runners. I think it's 8 out of the top 10 times in the world right now are Americans.
Is that what Dee Dee Trotter was? Was she 200 meter runner?
You mean you talking Dee Dee Trotter? She was a 400 meter runner.
She was a 400 meter runner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think Americans are poised to jump back on top of the world this year in some of these sprints, which is good because if you remember, the men won no gold medals last Olympics, which was really different. It never happened before. But I'm afraid that we're getting further and further behind in distance events. We've had some good, we had Galen Rupp did really well, 5K, 10K, not long ago. You had the guy with the funny name that won and has a father who was a 5K champion that ran the 1500 that was so good. But I don't know that we have anybody that's going to medal in a distance event. I think we got some that could possibly, but
now, where is the World Championships?
In Eugene, Oregon.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's in America
all
this
the races this year, basically.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. Even our women's steeplechasers are not looking good right now, and normally that's an event we shine in. We took first and second at World Championships a few years ago. Yeah, and so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I haven't heard anything about Cheptegei. He's a world record holder in the 5K and the 10K, and I haven't heard a word. I don't know. Really? I don't know what he's doing. I'm assuming he's still going to run.
What's Kipchoge up to now? He kind of threw the hint out there one time that he might consider going into ultra.
Yeah,
but any other word on that?
He hasn't done it yet. Okay, that I know of.
No other talks about it.
He's still awfully good in the marathon. Yeah. So he's still winning almost every marathon he enters. Yeah. Had that one falter there in London, and other than that, he wins everything. Yeah. So, yeah. And I can't wait to watch Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Remember that name. If you're going to watch the World Championships, watch Jakob Ingebrigtsen run. He's interesting to watch run. But I was listening to somebody talk about him recently that they're not sure that Jakob Ingebrigtsen can win a race that's not really fast from the gun. And I thought about it, and I thought every race I've ever seen him run has been pressing hard from the gun. And so he ran a 3:46 mile this past weekend, which is the fastest mile it's been run in many years. And there was nobody else was going to take the lead, so he just did it himself.
Well, that's what he did in the
Prefontaine Classic.
Yeah, the Prefontaine Classic.
He did.
The rest of the field was kind of running slow, and he even kind of took a shot at him after the race with his comment. He said, I can't help it that people don't want to be their best. Yeah. And so...
What's going to be interesting is at World Championships, they're going to be the best in the world there, and they're all going to be in great shape for that race. And so can he do that against the best runners in the world? Because the question is, we don't know what kind of kick he's got. He's never really had to use it. And so...
so would it not be kind of the same people as the Prefontaine Classic?
No.
Because I felt like that was a pretty stacked field.
It was, but there'll be a few more. And a lot of people train differently. So some people really focus on every race.
They weren't focused on Prefontaine. They were focused on
World Championships is where everybody's going to be at their best. Of course, Ingebrigtsen won the 1500 at the Olympics. Yeah. So he beat the best in the world there. So we'll see. He's young. All right. How about a trivia question for this week? There is a race in Morocco that they call the toughest race in the world. What is it called, and why is it so tough? Another one of these out of the blue things that I'm not sure where I got that from.
I'm trying to figure out where you got that too.
But it's an interesting. This is interesting.
Toughest race in the world. I think there's several races that have claimed that title.
That's right. Yeah, including the Western States and so there's been several. Death Valley. They've all several have claimed it.
But which is the one in Morocco that claims
the
title?
That's exactly right. So if you know the answer to that, or if you Googled it and you found the answer to that, you can send the answer to dean@runforgod.com. And be the first one to answer that, and you will win a Run Club mug. Now, a couple weeks ago, we had nobody answer the trivia question.
Really?
That's right. And so we need to have some answers to trivia questions. Yeah. I know some people think, well, I probably don't stand a chance, but every once in a while, it's almost like nobody answers the question.
Too many are going to do it, and they don't stand a chance.
Or maybe they don't listen to the podcast until later in the week, and they think, he's already got a winner. You just never know. So
get it in.
Yeah, give it a shot. All right, every week I share a reason why running is so awesome. And this week, this is the reason. It is essential to many other sports. You can't play football without running. You can't play basketball without running. You can't play soccer without running. You know, you get the idea. Every other sport, you have to be.
What's the T-shirt that you see? My sports, your sports, punish.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so running is the foundation of so many of these sports. And I like the idea of running just being so basic and so primal and it's just so raw. And that's one of the things that I love about running. And one of the things I think it's so, and you know, at one time running was essential for life. I mean, that's how they hunted. You know, at one time, as far as we know, part of hunting was wearing down the prey. And that was done by the human being able to last longer than the prey.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I that's what I like about it. And a motivational thought of the week. There's a great empowerment that I get from running, not only from the endorphins, but being a runner to me has made being depressed impossible. If ever I'm going through something emotional and just go out for a run, you can rest assured that I'll come back with clarity and empowerment. That comes from Alanis Morissette, she's a kind of a pop star, rock star. But I just think that's a great sentiment.
Yeah.
That running is very therapeutic for all of us.
Yeah. How many times is something going on in your head and you just go for a walk or run, you come back thinking, why was I even worried about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens a lot.
Just clears things up. And I've never thought about running being empowering, but you know, it does kind of make sense because anytime you're clear-headed, you feel empowered, right?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool summit.
Another good week, Dean.
Yeah. All right. So, and until next week, may God bless every step of every run. Go out there and shine your light.
Good job, Dean.
For more information about the Run for God ministry, go to runforgod.com. If you have questions about your salvation, click on the Peace with God tab. There's nothing more important. Thanks for joining us today.